Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Phil. Welcome to my computer lab. Today we do a little bit of a behind the scenes video. I show motherboards and video cards and all sorts of parts in my videos and how to build systems and benchmarks and all sorts of other things, but I never quite show what I do when I get a new motherboard. So this motherboard, I picked it up from the post office yesterday, and in this video I'll show you how I prep it, how I test it, and basically what I do before I use it fully. The motherboard is for the Pentium 4, socket 478, and it's an Intel board, Intel desktop board, and the model number is D845BG. Now, I got this motherboard on eBay. It was just 10 Australian dollars, so extremely cheap. And I will use this motherboard down the track to show you that you don't have to spend big and chase Asus and 8-bit and Gigabyte and all the fancy stuff. That you can pick something that usually people overlook and actually build a really decent gaming machine around it. But that is not the topic of this video. Now, I've done my research before buying this, and usually I look at the specs and the price and all of that, and I was happy, so I bought it. And while the motherboard is on the way in the postal system on the way to my computer lab, I start doing some research and download some resources. So depending on the manufacturer, it's easy or a little bit hard to find all this stuff. The Intel motherboards are really well organized. So here we have the motherboard, the D845BG, and you can select what you're after, the BIOS, the drivers, documentation, and usually I'm after the user manual, I'm after the BIOS and a couple of downloads, and also the CPU support, what processors are supported. With the Intel motherboards, there is sometimes a dedicated document, but often it's within the user manual. For example, if I want to grab the BIOS, I select BIOS, and here are my downloads. Now, I am pretty organized. I have to be. I do all sorts of projects. So I've got a networked 4 terabyte mirrored RAID, and here I'm organizing all the motherboards. So this is an Intel board, and there we go. And I've already downloaded all the stuff. So I've got the BIOS and the drivers and the user manual, and everything is good to go. So to find out what processors are supported, we just have to open the user manual, and it is mentioned in here somewhere. I just have to find it. There you go. So here we can see a table of all the processors. So it goes from 1.4 to 2 gigahertz, supporting a frontset bus of 400 megahertz and 256 kilobytes of cache. And once I have all my resources, I just wait for the motherboard to arrive, and then I carry out a visual inspection of the motherboard. So let's have a quick look. I'm already quite familiar with it because I studied the manual. So we have 4 USB 2 ports, a serial port, a parallel port, PS2 ports for the mouse and the keyboard, and some audio ports. 1 AGP interface for the graphics card, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PCI cards. This is the chipset cooler, the socket 478. We have a floppy interface, 2 RD interfaces. Here goes the power, 2 DDR slots for some memory. It's got an onboard PC speaker, which is nice. And this is the BIOS chip. So it's not removable. So I have to be a bit careful with the BIOS flashing, but usually I don't care. I usually like to have the latest BIOS on all my boards. The board was $10, so if it goes wrong, so be it. But I only ever had one motherboard where the BIOS flash didn't work, so usually it works fine. I also look for any obvious defects, anything that's broken off with the plastics. Is anything snapped off? Happens often with the 478 that the retention mechanism here has some broken bits and pieces. But then I'll look at the capacitors, and we can see 1, 2, 3 capacitors with rounded tops, and that's basically a vent that lets some of the stuff inside escape. Not a good sign. The motherboard will likely work, but I will definitely replace these capacitors. Apart from that, the motherboard looks in excellent condition. So now it's time to put the motherboard on the test bench and see if it works. The motherboard actually came with a processor, I think that's a 1.7 or something like that. It doesn't really matter as long as it's 100 megahertz frontside bus and has 256 kilobytes of cache. It also came with the typical Pentium 4 cooler. Personally, I can't stand the coolers, not so much the cooling in terms of cooling performance, but the mechanism of mounting them I really don't like those. So I'm going to use a replacement cooler. So this is the type of cooler I like to use, which has the mounting clips that you mount from the top. So I'm just going to plug in the fan, and then you've got these clips, and they're just going like that. And I usually put the other one the other way, clip them down, and that's it. Off you go. Okay, we also need some RAM. So I've got a, what have we got here? Let's have a look. That's a 256 stick, that's all we need. We just want to turn it on and make sure that we get that the post successfully finishes. Alrighty, we're good to go. I also need a graphics card, so I'm just using a cheap GeForce 4, something that in case it fails, I'm not gonna be too upset about. Okay, we need some power, so let's hook up the power supply. So this is a Pentium 4, so we need the standard ATX power, and then we also need the 12 volt Pentium 4 power connector, which goes over here. I'll plug in the monitor, make sure monitors turn on. I'll plug in the PS2 keyboard, and I'll give the power supply some power as well. And now I need to figure out how to turn it on. Oh, there you go. It turned itself on. How good. Let's see if we get a beep. Okay, I can see the post screen, so that looks fine. Let's see if we can get into the BIOS. So, complaints about battery, that's all good. We can see BIOS number here, I think it's 23P04, so I have to look up in the system if this is the latest or not. Press F1 to enter the BIOS, and here we go. Okay, let's do it. Let's flash the BIOS. I'm gonna risk it. It's not a removable BIOS chip, but what the heck? It's nothing, not much we can lose. $10, it's not much. So I've already downloaded the BIOS onto a floppy disk. I'm using the Gotek floppy emulator, of course. Those who've been watching my videos for a while, they know how much I love that gadget. If you don't have one yet, get one. It is such a useful tool, saves you a lot of time. So I'm just looking for a floppy power connector to hook up here to power our Gotek. Off we go, and we're gonna turn on the machine, and I've got a boot disk on ID number 60. So let's see if we can make the machine boot from the floppy drive. Okay, we are in DOS, and we're going to switch over to the next floppy. That should have the BIOS update from Intel. There you go. So let's type in the command, and let's see what happens. Cannot be run in DOS mode. So it looks like the DOS BIOS update is actually a Windows executable, so I just ran it on my desktop and it unpacked a few files. So let's just run iFlash and see if that's going to do the job. Okay, that's all done. Let's see if the machine restarts. There you go. Alrighty. So we've got BIOS version 08. That's all done. Success. So that's it. I know the motherboard works. I've got the latest BIOS, so I'm gonna shut it down. And now I basically strip everything and I put the motherboard in a plastic bag and basically tuck it away in my storage containers, ready, waiting for my project. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. If you want me to do more videos like this with how I operate behind the scenes, so to speak, let me know down below in the description. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Also, share it with your social media if you want to, and hit that like button. I'll see you soon in another video.